Yeah.
Excellent.
Is there a way that you want to briefly introduce who you guys are, so I know who I'm speaking with?
Okay, should we do that?
Like your kind of green credentials, or are you businesses, landowners, like council members? What? Just briefly, if everyone can just give me a little interlude, that'd be great.
Great stuff, Michael. Well, I'm Andrew Malafant. I'm a retired parish clerk and currently chairman of the Great Collaboration, standing in for Graham, who is afloat on the briny. I'll just ask people to go around. Tristram, do you want to say who you are?
I think perhaps though in general, we're mostly involved with local councils. I think that's mostly anyway. And we're all part of this great collaboration, which is trying to provide us collect a library of guidance and data so that everybody can do climate planning better. And I'm from Widgefield Parish Council, and I also run a company that has a product called Parish Online, which is a GIS platform for local councils.
Right, thank you. Jenny Hodgson, do you want to say a couple of words?
Yeah, sure. I'm a parish clerk in Stannikin, Northamptonshire. These banter sessions have just come to my attention, so this is the first one I have attended. We're always looking to improve our biodiversity. We're a rural parish, so anything I can learn, I'm happy to take forward.
Thank you very much, Jenny. Janet Cobb?
Yeah, hi, I'm a parish clerk in a little village, Edgerton in Shropshire, and I'm also on the board of Middle Marches Community Land Trust.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, Janet and I've been in touch before. I came to one of your events, didn't I, Janet? It was a great occasion.
That's right. Yeah, Natalie Bennett agreed to come to that. You gave her a lift, Andrew.
It was good. John Payne.
Hi, I'm a woodland manager and part owner of the village shop. I have a background in medicine and I live in the Wye Valley. I'm a member of Extinction Rebellion. I'm heavily involved in the Save the Wye campaign, and also the A40, which is partially closed by a landslip for 5 months, which is the main road into Wales. And we've done surveys on that, and this is the direct result of increased rainfall due to climate change and the instability of the hillside.
Thank you very much, Sean.
Yeah, yep.
Hugh Jennings, it says.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, that's my husband. I can't get on my own. So my name's Eleanor Jennings, and I'm on Ushop Parish Council, which is a tiny council in North Hampshire between Fleet and Farnham. And this is my first time on one of these sessions. It was recommended to me by a fellow councillor. And we're just on a sort of information gathering exercise to see what we can do in terms of our environment and the biodiversity.
Fantastic. Very welcome to your first meeting. John Fagan and a gentleman.
Hello, everybody. My name's John Fagan. I am CEO at Scribe. We build apps to help town and parish councils.
Fantastic. Thank you, John. Stuart?
Hi, thanks. I'm Stuart, a retired NHS consultant, now a town councillor in Great Dunmow in Essex, and I'm also chair of the climate emergency team.
Lovely job. Thanks, Stuart. Mary Moore, please.
Oh, hi, I'm Mary and I chair a small parish council, a bit like yours, Eleanor, but mine is near Tiverton in Devon. And I also do quite a lot locally around from the environment. Just converted my house totally to wind turbine energy, which is been quite interesting, but is now all going, so that's brilliant.
Well done. I'm making a note of that, Mary. We'll be in touch. Gary Ford, please. You want to say a quick word?
Yeah, hi. Yeah, I'm Gary. I'm from Corsham Town Council. I'm the environmental officer here. Corsham Town Council, we're a small council in Wiltshire on the edge of the Cotswolds.
Thank you. Yeah, and we met at the NAUC event quite recently, didn't we, Gary? Yeah, indeed.
Yep, I was there.
Indeed. Wendy Thompson, do you want to say a couple of words about yourself?
Oh, hi. Yeah, I've literally just managed to get on because it wouldn't let me open. I'm just trying to click the button to do my video, but that's not working either. Oh, it says stop video, but I don't think I've got video on anyway. Okay, so I'll just talk. So no, I was a councillor, and I there was a bit of a muck up which ward to go for. So some of us didn't get back on. So I'm hoping to be co-opted back on to the council, but that's not until the end of September when they're having a meeting about it. So I'm in Gloucestershire, in Stonehouse. I'm particularly interested in this one because I think I've been following 9Trees for quite some time and making comments on all their Facebook activities and supporting them as much as I can. I'm just keen to learn as much as possible, and if there are any particular projects I can encourage the council on groups to get involved in, that's what I want to do. So I've probably listened to about at least 8 of these now since I found out about them, and they've all been brilliant. So thank you.
Thanks for that. Jackie Lawrence, Jackie, you've got in. That's great. Do you want to say a couple of words? You're on.
Yeah, I've no idea what's going wrong with the sign-in nowadays. It's so much, the last week and this week's been so much more difficult than it's ever been before. It just keeps going round in circles asking me to register. So I'm from Napton. I'm on the Parish Council Working Party for Climate and Environment.
Okay. Thank you. Graham's joining us from the boat, but we'll talk about that, Graham, when you're back in the UK. Great stuff. We've got Warwick Webster just joined us.
Hi.
Do you want to say a couple of words about who you are, where you're from, so that the speaker?
I'm from a place called Burton Green in Warwickshire, just outside sort of Coventry. And I'm on the parish council. One of my remits is biodiversity, so I've been trying to get trees planted in the parish. One of our biggest problems is we've got HS2, which is driven right the way through the village. It took out the village hall and various people's houses. Really? Yeah. And they're building they were building a tunnel, but it's the strangest way I've ever seen a tunnel built. It's called digging a trench, putting in the concrete and then putting the soil back on. It's not quite the way that the Victorians would have done it. I think Brunel might have done it a little bit better. But it's gone through 2 or 3 areas of ancient woodland. I'm just taking them out. So interested in how we can put trees back in.
Right. Yeah. Don't get us started on HS2. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Graham. So great to be in touch from across the seas. Graham always says he's our overseas member in any case, as he lives on the Isle of Wight. But there we go. Thanks for that note in the chat, Graham. David Morgan-Jones, if you want to say a couple of words to introduce yourself, and then we'll ask the speaker to get in.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm a parish councillor from Ushot, which is in North Hampshire, and I am the net zero lead for the council, but I'm also helping Hart District Council with their strategic planning in the same space.
Right. Okay. Lovely job.
Brilliant. I think that's everyone.
I think we've got some good coverage there. And Michael is the founder, I believe, of 9Trees, with a mission to develop biodiverse woodlands. And I will leave the floor to you, Michael, and you can tell us all about yourself and what you're seeking to achieve and what you would like to share with us.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for inviting me. And thank you, Graham, for your initial contact. And I think I started following you about a year ago. And have been following the video, so I'm really glad that that's all happening. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry if it's got like some mute and stop video stuff at the top, but I can't change that. So basically, I'm the founder of 9Trees CIC. So we are a community interest company, and we're basically creating nature-rich biodiverse woodlands throughout the UK. My background is in habitat management and sustainability, but also I've done a lot of work in like tourism and business and the arts in Mid Wales. So I was like one of the youngest directors of Tourist Partnership Mid Wales, which is kind of like the Welsh Tourist Board. And I ran Irwood Station Craft Centre. Some of you from near in the Wye Valley might know it. And my dad started that. So basically, after a degree in woodland conservation in Hull, I then went and worked for like the RSPB and all kinds of things like volunteering for the Woodland Trust and worked for the Environment Agency, worked as a youth worker, all kinds of things, which you can see later on my LinkedIn if you want to follow us. And so basically what we do is it's all about biodiversity and well-being. It's not about carbon credits. At the moment, it's also not about BNG, which is biodiversity net gain. We basically want to make sure we're a bit different. And also we don't want to get into the mess that sometimes has created. So I'll talk a bit more on that if you want to later. But really it's about creating something out of nothing. So I am the Woodland Wizard on LinkedIn, and it's like the stone soup, you know, everyone gives a little bit. So landowners give us land, businesses give us money, and individuals also give us money and hopefully some volunteer time. And we also accept pro bono support from experts, and our role progression is quite good. So people who join us as volunteers and interns often go on to get paid work on a freelance basis. And then we create woodlands on landowners' land, which you can then visit. So you can either take your family and friends or just yourself, or you can take your clients and team. So why is it 9 trees? Well, one tree sequesters only 1 ton of carbon in its lifetime. So we're working on averages here to make it a lot easier for people to understand. And one person emits 9 tons into the atmosphere every year. So that's an average. Obviously, some people might quibble with that. And if you want to do your own calculations, then you might decide to give me enough money to plant 4 trees or 24 trees. So 9 trees per person per year. And to make that happen even faster, as it's a climate crisis, we basically want to work with businesses who might plant 9 trees or they might plant 90 trees. And in one case, a business has planted 4,500 trees with us in 1 year. And there's various different means people go about that. We've also got these blogs. There's many more on there now. This is quite an old slideshow. I am recreating the deck, but all kinds of blogs on how to be better about the environment, but also day in the life of conservationists, how we do our carbon calculations and things like that. And this is how we work. I mentioned it before. So it's basically we do all the work so you don't have to. So you probably don't have land, or you don't have money, or you don't have time. And so we link all the people who do that and hopefully quell some of your eco-anxiety and sequester lots of carbon. But it's all about biodiversity and well-being. So these are some of our woodlands. Again, it's updated now. We've now got 12 sites in the UK. These are our first 8. And the map on the right is sites in discussion. That's also been updated for some landowners have dropped off, and we can't plant that many trees unless we get a lot of money. So that map has slightly changed. As I said, it's about well-being and mental health and biodiversity and careers. So Isabella Hill joined us as a volunteer, and she worked her way up, and she's now a director. Not that everyone will get to do that, but being a paid operational manager from a volunteer in 4 years is also excellent. This is us in the field doing ecology surveys, planting trees, managing the woodlands. That's actually a team of volunteers on the right there. We do like cardboard cutting and wood chip around the trees, and that suppresses the weeds and allows nutrients for the trees to grow even better. So we don't use glyphosate or any weed killers or anything like that. We go in and manage it by hand, and the labor is done voluntarily, but the trees are not planted voluntarily. The trees are planted with proper conservationists and tree planters, because we find that if a conservationist plants it, 80% of the trees live. Whereas if volunteers plant it, it takes a lot longer and 80% of the trees die, and then we have to go and replant. So Some people, it's great if you're green fingered. Maybe 50 or 60% of your trees will live. That's wonderful. But we'd prefer you to give us your day rate and us do it professionally and manage it professionally. And then you come to the sites and help us with the labour intensive, but not in such a way that you can kill a tree. And yeah, basically we've got the stages involved on our website before we even set foot on land. So we've got 50 stages, landowner coordination, desk-based surveys, and many others. And then we've got the planting plan, and then we step foot on the land and plant the trees. So all the surveys and talking with the right people like Natural Resources Wales or Environment Agency is all done for free for the landowner. And they also get the free stakes and guards and the labour in some cases. And then we've got 50 years of management after, which I can share to you guys if you want to know more in depth. These are some of our trees we planted. This is actually a site in Dorset, and we planted about 15 different types of tree. And every year for the first 5 years, we go and replant. So that cost isn't passed on to the landowner either. Although, again, they can't get carbon credits or BNG at the moment. We are working with Bristol University on a feasibility study of integrating BNG and carbon credits, but we really need to find the right landowner and the right businesses. You know, we don't want them to be sold on the open market, and we don't want to fall foul of like greenwashing and things like that. So we work with landowners and businesses to make sure that this is all done, I suppose, in the most holistic kind of permaculture way as possible. So as you can see, our trees aren't evenly spaced, but they are about 2.5 metre spacing to 3 metre spacing. This means that these woodlands won't look like they've been planted for harvesting, and they're certainly not. We're in a 50-year contract with the landowner, and we hope at the end of that contract, they might sell us the woodland, and people can leave us gifts in their will as legacy, so money as well as land. We do small biodiversity surveys, especially when landowners and businesses want to know what's on their land. So we're just rolling that out now, really. Certainly next year, it's our year 5 of some of our sites, and we want to do the second official survey. So we've done a baseline, and then what's happened in the next couple of years. But you know, in two years, it's amazing how many field voles and birds of prey come in and swoop down on the wonderful kind of swardy grassland we've created. This is how you can get involved. So this is for businesses generally who want to do environmental social governance or corporate social responsibility. And we also do volunteer days. So the volunteer days are usually on the weekend, and the Team Green Away days for businesses, which they pay for, are usually on Fridays or a day that they've asked for. And as I mentioned before, it's about creating a good habitat for the trees. So now we're just coming up to more weeding and bramble bashing, things like that. Whereas the first couple of years, it's cardboarding and wood chip and sometimes wool. And this can really help you and your team with your mindfulness. And as mentioned there, introduction to ecology, things like that. So there's so much to say, but I'll just carry on. And maybe we can have some questions afterwards. So we're not about planting trees as the only option. You know, we know that it's about behavior change, and we know that it's about so many other things. So yes, like green energy, changing your bank's pension, all that kind of stuff. And it's just that I know how to create woodlands, and there's a niche in that for us. Usually small landowners, about half an acre to like 5 hectares. And they're all altruistic landowners. And then there's businesses who want to tick the box to carbon credits. They've got to go elsewhere for that, but they can also say do 50 tons in a different country, carbon credits, and they can do 50 trees with us. So it's about then them having an extra box that they can tell people about, and which is biodiversity and well-being, and social change, and you know, creating a biodiverse network throughout the UK. These are some of our prices, you know, so ranges from £2 a month, one-off gifts, special gifts where you get a lovely little wooden tree disc and to put on your mantel shelf or hang on your Christmas tree or give to someone when they're 50 or when they're 18 and say, I've planted a tree for you and you can go and visit it. It's in Wales or England, and then it's got specific geolocation of the site. And we're working with Bath University to do more in-depth geolocation and also the mortality of the tree. So you can literally see when the wind blows the tree. That costs a bit more money. So we've got to work in partnership with a business, and we won't be doing that on every tree. It would be like every 100 or every 500 trees. So you know what's going on. Oh, it's windy in Wales and the blossom's coming out. And also my tree's grown by 0.5 centimeters this year. So that'll be an average again. These are some of the companies we work with and who have talked about us in their literature. So maybe like the Forestry Journal is one to mention here, Triodos Bank, the farmer, Wales farmer. We work with loads of different people. And there are SDG goals, obviously there's 17, but we mainly work on these 4 or 5 at the side. So there's all this can come in a press pack to anyone. And this is me, the Woodland Wizard. And if you scan that QR code, you can follow me on LinkedIn, but it's really easy on LinkedIn just to search Michael Cunningham or 9Trees CIC. And on social media, we're 9Trees UK. And I think that's about it. There's probably lots more to mention. Oh, that's just for people who maybe don't know about soil sequestering carbon, trees sequestering carbon, and the carbon cycle. Because I find that sometimes I've got to move this to the front depending on my audience. I think that's it. Brilliant. Yeah. So I'll stop sharing screen now, and then you can ask your questions. Put them in the chat if you want to as well. And if I can't answer anything for some reason, I can follow up by email.
Well, that was absolutely fabulous, and what a joy to know and meet somebody that's not only passionate about something but is getting out there and doing it, which is fantastic. Thank you so much. On a personal note, I'm so pleased that you put in the English name and the Latin names as well. I mean, many years ago, I had a survey report from a company, and instead of saying oak tree, they just said Quercus robur. I thought, okay, thank you very much. So I appreciate that. So I've got a couple of things to ask you at some point. If anybody else want to start the ball rolling and ask a question, or
I've just got there's a nifty little reaction button if you don't know about it at the bottom, right, where you can put a little thumbs up, or you can have a little celebrate or a little heart. So if you do have a question, please use the raise hand. There's one there as well saying raise hand.
Raise hand button, quite right. Yes, indeed.
Brilliant. We've got one from Wendy Thomas. Do you just want to come on in?
Wendy, come on down.
Hi. So I'm just trying to press buttons again, start the video. Here we go. Oh, no, I've moved. I've got a daughter who's going to be 30 in a couple of weeks. It sounds brilliant. I'd love to do something so she could follow a tree growing, because she'll be hopefully maybe around for another 50 years. I'm unlikely to be. So yeah, what is that? Should I talk to you offline to find out what I can do for her?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mention the website, but it's just 9trees.org. So we're at CIC, so it's .org. And the number 9, not NINE. And on there, you've got really easy ways to buy your 9Tree subscription, or to just donate to the biodiversity thing of £2 a month, or even just buy one tree. So you can buy one tree without a certificate. But if you want a certificate for one tree, it costs a bit more money because it's all admin time. And you can buy, I think, 4 trees for £50, which is quite a good deal. And that's the usual gift people think about buying. Or you can just write to us and say, you know what, she's 30, I want to give you £30, or however much money you think you want to give. And yeah, we've got quite a few different subscriptions. So on the right-hand side, I think it's shop, and then individuals, but then there's also special gift, and there's also businesses. And businesses obviously work with us in a bespoke way. Yep.
I was just thinking it might be a really good away day for a group of councillors. I mean, it may never happen because it's trying to get people all together. So what does an away day consist of?
So on our page, again, we've got a tab called Events right at the top. And then that's a few different things. And one of them is in-field events. And that has got the upcoming like next 5 dates or 6 dates coming up. And that links to Eventbrite. So you just book through there. And that's easy for you guys to do without having a conversation with me. But then if you're like, okay, we can only get together on a Wednesday, and it's in, I don't know, August. And so you just email me, say, right, which Wednesdays in August are you available? Or we're only available this Wednesday and that Wednesday, or whatever it is. Can you run a Team Green Away Day? And it's usually £50 per person because we're running it separate to our usual program. If you want to come on a weekend, it's free. But if you're not giving us any money at the moment, we do ask for a £10 donation to help us, you know, to carry on what we're doing. And businesses, you can also choose to come on a business day if you want to and be free, or to donate any amount. So if you just take a look at that maybe, and then email me with any thoughts. And it might be just that one of you wants to come and take some photos and explain to everyone how good it is. And when we've got sites in all of your areas, then come to them. At the moment, it's much better and more efficient to give us £10. And if everyone gives us £10, then we'll hopefully get to your county sooner.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much, Wendy. Janet, you've got your hand up.
Yeah. Hi, Michael. Fantastic talk. Thank you. I'm a parish clerk, but I also work for Middlemarches Community Land Trust, and we've been sort of buying up plots of land using public donations. So we've been concentrating on sites that are either important because they've got orchids on them, or they're a stepping stone for nature between 2 other sites, or buying land that needs to be sort of improved for nature. But one of the things that we've been doing is talking to the big estates. There are a lot of those in Shropshire, and I wondered if you'd thought about approaching some of the big estates.
Basically, we work on this like expansive model where when things come to us or people come to us, then hopefully they can use their volunteer time to like go after those big estates and talk with them, because it takes us time to build up that rapport. And we get lots of landowners already talking to us. So at least 25 landowners on the waiting list, 5 sites to plant this year, if not 7, and then another 5 for next year. So it's the money really. And also I find that big landowners often want money. So there's no money changes hands between us and the landowner. We give them a peppercorn every year, which is a peppercorn rent for 50 years. So they're truly altruistic. So these big estates might want parkland trees, which cost a lot more money because they want them to be big already, say 5 to 10 years old. They want them to have their own fence around them. But I'm willing to work with anyone and everyone. So if you want to share our contact details, then please do. This is like a very much a word of mouth way this company works. And yeah, hopefully we can get some big estates on board to do that. It would be a different price. So we've got like the ability to sell parkland trees. So that would probably be more like £25 a tree rather than £12.50 a tree. But yeah, please do put us in contact with whoever you can. And we can provide companies and councils with free trees, stakes and guards, as long as they jump through our hoops and sign up with us as a license agreement. So you would kind of be the landowner, or we'd need the landowner signature.
Okay.
Right. Thank you very much for that. Right, lots of questions fast. There's a question in the chat you might want to look at in a minute, Michael. But Tristram, you're next up.
Yeah, Michael, thank you very much. Very interesting talk. Can you tell me about your attitude to extracting timber from trees during their lifetime to sort of extend their ability to sequester carbon, and also make products that would be useful and could sequester carbon in, for instance, wooden buildings?
Yeah, so I've done like timber frame building before as well, and I've chopped down my fair share of trees in the name of conservation, and I think it's great to make something out of that. My dad was a wood turner, and I think it's wonderful. We use wood all the time. We import 90% of our wood for buildings, so your average like pine forests and spruce and all that kind of stuff. So if we can create sustainable woodlands that are used for like willow weaving and like hazel coppice and like very like oak, maybe an oak with oak standard forest with hazel understory, then we'd love to speak with the right landowner about that. But it would also go into like a profit share where, you know, why are we giving money that is public or private funded so that a landowner can plant his, I don't know, 20 grand crop in 25, 50 years. So we need to be careful of how we work with that. I do totally agree with it. But I think that if you're making profit from it and things from it, maybe you've got that ability. We've got a few things in the pipeline. So I'd say to any landowners who've got that thought in their head, send us an email and we'll work with you on the best way to show our sponsors that we are doing the right thing and it is worth giving you 5, 10, 20 grand's worth of trees, stakes, guards and labour. So we're working with agroforestry as well. And that's similar, like, will they get money off it or will they have like community open days where they can pick the fruit and benefit? So, yeah, and we are working with a golf course in North England with the aim to do our first biodiversity net gain, you know, trial. So we're looking at all types of things.
I would imagine that actually landowners might be happy not to take the proceeds and give that to you as a sort of source of income for 9Trees, because it's more, you know, it's more carbon beneficial. So rather than have 1 ton of wood per tree over its entire lifetime, you'd be extending that benefit. Yeah,
that's a good point. And willing for you to drop me an email with more intricacies. And when we find someone, I'm willing to explore it, but I just haven't found the right person yet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Great stuff. If we come to Jenny for a question, then perhaps, Michael, you could have a look at John's question in the chat. Jenny.
Yeah, this wasn't the first thing that came to my mind, but I've made a note. You're a 50-year process, excellent, gets followed through. What happens if a landowner dies?
Yeah, so we've got a license agreement with them, which basically is a solicitor agreement, which means that they should pass that over to the next people who buy the land or to their their son or daughter or whoever it is that gets the land. And it's a good deal for them basically because we're managing the land for 50 years. And we also stipulate that we'd like for them to offer us the land for sale.
First option,
or to leave it to us in their will, because a lot of them are quite small areas. But if we are to get this properly sealed up with every landowner, we have to take it to a legal team, and we've had a 20 grand quote to draw it all up, and we've had a 2 grand quote as well, which is a really much better quote that we might go for. But then every time there's a change, and every landowner is very different who we work with, it's another £500 just to change a sentence. So at the moment, I can send you the license agreement and you can look through it and find out, you know,
well, so I'm also a burial manager, so the prospect of someone dying within 50 years sort of came into my head. What would happen as to the longevity of the product? One of the questions I've got, and I don't know if you are in a position to answer this, is we've got some land around the village that's owned by developers that haven't been touched in 25 plus years. So they've become self-set woodland. And what protections we can give those, registering as a wildlife space or protecting those trees, now that, you know, they are self-set woodland.
I would say that developer may be keeping it to like put a road through later to another development or to develop later, or they could then themselves get biodiversity net gain on that possibly after a few years. So you can register trees with TPOs, tree preservation orders. I don't know how old it is, just 5 years or so old, did you say?
25. I've lived here for 25 years and it was established when I moved here. So, you know,
I wonder, do the web developers, do the developers know it is their land?
I think, well, it's on land registry. It shows as owned by Taylor Wimper. They've probably forgotten that they've got it. But they've got a couple of portions of land, which is say for at least 25 years, people have been roaming across and trees have been growing up because it's completely unmanaged. So there's always environmentally minded people in the village that say, can we not protect this now it's got to that stage?
Yeah. Probably. I'm not the right person.
Not your area of expertise. I accept that. That's fine. Thank you.
I've made a note of your question, Jenny, and if I can find a good answer for you, well, I will do. Thanks. I'll just read out John's question in the chat. People haven't seen it. John's Payne is starting a natural colonisation project on a field next to rare temperate rainforest in the Forest of Dean. Gave up on agroforestry grants, too complicated. What are your views, Michael, on natural colonisation and community projects to look after the planting? That's his question.
Yeah, I think that it would be great to get a team of people to look after that planting and to do natural colonisation with us. But like the natural colonisation, you don't really need us if it's already been done. But we can just give you free tree stakes and guards, but then the trees kind of belong to our sponsors and subscribers. Community projects, we would like to get more people involved to plant their own woodlands. It's just the cost of trees, stakes and guards is quite high to let a lot of them die. So I think that's a question and maybe a quick Zoom for me and John to have more at length. And also you might want to speak to the landowner coordinator and the planting coordinator. So you can just book a 15-minute Zoom with us online really easily. So I don't really know if that answers your question because he's already starting a natural colonisation project.
You're still muted, John.
We could take it offline, John, and have that meeting as a follow-up. Is that okay?
You're still muted, John. We'll come back to you in a minute, shall we? If you're, I don't know where that issue is.
Yeah, let's come back to John, and it would be easy to take offline because I can't answer that at the moment, really.
Okay, Gary Ford, you've got your hand up, my friend.
Yeah, just trying to get my camera to work, but hopefully you can hear me.
Yeah.
Michael, I was just wondering, how many trees have you actually managed to plant so far? What's the total number you've achieved so far? It's all fantastic stuff that you're doing. I think it's great. And also, how do you keep track of all the trees that you've planted? I've just done a stock take of Corsham Town Council's trees. We've got about 200 that we've planted in the last couple of years, and that took me forever to kind of go around and check up on them. So I'm just wondering how you manage it and how many you've got.
Yeah, so we've actually just released our impact report, and since 2019, we've planted 15,000 trees in like 7 different counties, and basically we know where the sites are. You know, it's all mapped, and we check on the trees every year for the first 5 years. We know the landowners well. We go and do beat-up surveys, and that's like a proper survey methodology. So then we might reorder 10% or 20% of the trees and replant them. And that's how we keep track of them, I suppose, through being actually there and visiting the sites. And the landowners might tell us if there's something wrong for some reason. The visitors might tell us if there's something wrong for some reason. Yeah, and when we don't plant like one tree here, one tree there, you know, we're planting 90 to 500 to 5,000 trees in well, not blocks, but still lovely woodland habitats.
You don't count every single tree every year then?
We just order like 1,000 or 3,000, and then we do the beat up survey, which say you might need to plant another 500 or 100, and then we keep a track on that. Then when people buy 9Trees off us, we actually plant 13. So even if we did have 30% losses, then it's fine. So that's why we would really love to do the geolocation of every single tree, but it is time consuming, and that's maybe something to do in year 10 or something. And when we're working with Bath University, you know, we're continually trying to get research and development, and there's more drones and more satellite imagery. So we're working with like Map Impact and other, like, you know, I gave a talk at the Wales AGI Cymru about, you know, how we do GIS mapping and magic maps and all that data, and ArcGIS. Some of you might have heard about that, but, you know, we are conservationists, we are ecologists. So hopefully you're putting your trust in us, and we just go over and above. I suppose maybe we could do a little blog on why we plant 13 trees, not 9. But it's just really confusing for people. They're like, why do you do that? And then people hear about mortality of trees and they're like, what, maybe 30% of them will die? Oh, and then like, there's just so many intricacies. We need to try and just keep it pretty simple for people.
Okay, thanks for that. Before I go to any other questions, if you're happy with that, there's just another one in the chat for you, Michael, from Warwick Webster. Our parish council is looking to work to connect damaged ancient woodlands on the eastern side of HS2 to hopefully blend in with their green corridor. Would this be an area you could help with?
So, in my mind, HS2 and developers and people who've got to do things because of planning permission, that's up to them to do. So once they have like fulfilled their obligation, say it's to plant 5 million trees along the corridor, and if they are the landowner, then maybe that landowner can come and speak to us. If he's talking about landowners or his own parish council that is aside from it and hasn't got any obligation to do it yet, then we'd love to talk to them as a landowner. And of course, we can do tree planting and maintenance. So there might even be money from HS2 they can get, and they could employ our services. So we're not wasting the money of individuals and businesses who actually want to create additional woodland, not additionality. If you know what I mean.
Can I just add to that? We're talking about, I'm not going to get into HS2, but it is very difficult to get any engagement, meaningful engagement with them about the design of the green corridor or so on, because, well, it just goes on and on. So we're looking at the outside of HS2's boundary with various landowners. We've got a whole different range of landowners. We've got, if you imagine, 3 blodges of ancient woodland, and we'd like to connect that up. And part of this is also to prevent development from Coventry, of us becoming a suburb of Coventry and so on. And it's I lit up when I heard you saying about you sort of connecting all these people together, including landowners and that sort of thing. In another hour, I've got another Zoom meeting with the climate officer from the Warwickshire and West Midlands Association of Local Councils, who also works with the Warwick University. And Warwick University is the other side of the area that we're looking at, and they're looking to put an eco park in somewhere there as well. So it's how do you join all these people with good intentions together, and get something to happen, preferably before any of us dies.
Well, we're doing that. So let them know about us, and
Great.
If we can give you free trees, stakes, and guards, great. If we can, say we're working in partnership with this council or that green belt or whatever, then that's good for our branding, and that might allow people, businesses and individuals to give us money or give the cooperative the money. And then, that's all we've got to marry up is landowners with money. So we do all of that. We don't try and get funding from a big funding pot, and nor from the government, nor from the lottery. We're all in this together, individuals, businesses, and landowners. So if you've got anything like that you want to do, just drop me an email, info@9trees.org. Talk to this person that you're on the Zoom with next, share the link to our website. And we just need to make sure that if they're raising like 50 grand for a woodland and we put 20 grand in, that we're at least mentioned in that percentage of 9Trees partnerships. And that those trees are still designated to our sponsors and subscribers, even though it's part of the bigger woodland.
Yeah. I mean, we'd hope, like you said, that we can squeeze some money out of BBV, the contractor, and HS2 for some of this. But
great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's right. Yeah, I think very much that's what the great collaboration is about: is encouraging local leadership, local joining up, and so we're power to your elbow on that. Thank you for that, Warwick. John Payne, you have your hand up. Can you unmute?
Oh yeah, thank you. I'm sorry I had problems with my iPhone. I'm navigating it with the Zoom, but
no worries.
What I wanted to know really was, do you, when you take over this woodland, do you arrange all the fencing? Because that seems to be the most expensive part of the whole planting process now. In the Forest of Dean, they require deer fencing, which is prohibitively expensive. And my second question is this a solution for the maintenance and succession of woodland that you might leave to children, say? Because I'm conscious of my age, and do you actually have a program to manage woodland after, say, the most active woodland manager has passed away and still owns and is passing it on to children who may not be interested in woodland?
Yeah, so I'm glad you talked about that. So the legacy of you yourself, if you bought 9Trees, then well, I'm sure that we haven't spoken about it yet, but it'd be great if you wanted to say, you'd love those 9Trees to continue to go on to your son or daughter or whatever. But generally, they're your 9Trees, and they will only have sequestered your 9 tons, say for this year, in 50 or 100 years. So your sons or daughters, or whoever you're thinking of leaving, your assets to, in theory, they could also start joining us with 9Trees, or buy 1 tree, or you could buy them a gift of 4 trees, so that they've got access for the next 50 years to the same woodlands that you've got trees in. And we have got a pass actually that allows you access to all of the woodlands for 12 months. And that's quite cheap considering, but it doesn't go towards planting trees. It's just so that we can continue doing what we're doing. And then I mentioned earlier about the agreement, the 50-year agreement. It just stipulates that we would like to continue managing that woodland, and that we would like you to leave it to us in your will if you're a landowner. So we can't do much else because it is a climate crisis. I don't want a 20 grand legal bill, which would mean we couldn't do these woodlands. We've spent 150 grand or more on these woodlands, and we've got on with it quite fast since we started in 2019. And that's also part of why we're not a charity. We're just like, look, me and another director, now there's 3 of us, just getting on with it, money in, plant trees, but with all the stuff in the background going on. Does that answer some of your questions? Sorry, John.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about, how can you arrange the fencing, because the fencing and all the other
fencing. Yeah. So we did do the first 2 sites fencing, and that really was a real pain, the amount of money it costs. So we decided to not do the fencing anymore. However, we can help landowners get grants for fencing and materials and things like that. And we're also thinking of helping them get the initial grants that landowners work with in England or Wales. So to do the whole planting, and then we act as a private contractor to do that. So there's a few different ways we can work with landowners. At the moment, we don't do fencing.
So I think I'm understanding your organisation really. Your interest resides in the trees, not the land, isn't it?
Yep.
Yep, I can understand. Yeah. Thank you. Great talk.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tom.
Great. Thanks. We also have wild boar in the Forest of Dean, but we won't talk about that. Okay.
No. And sheep.
And sheep, of course. Yeah. Wendy, you have your hand up.
It's really a follow-on from Jenny. So we do have a plot of land which is about and should be handed over to the council that was in ownership from the builders, and because it was part of the setting up the ecology and balancing the ecology, and we've got newts on it, but it's quite overgrown now, and it's just not managed by them. So there is a plan and the council have been working on it for some time, to take over ownership. And it occurred to me then maybe we could talk to you to support getting local people through you to have a tree that, I mean, it's not a forest, it is there are trees and there's ponds and then the newts, but there are trees, and I just wondered whether if any of those trees would be suitable to be sponsored through your organisation?
Yeah, we don't do that at the moment because we need all the trees to have passports and be locally sourced and locally grown. And obviously, if they're blow-ins, then fair enough, they probably are. What you've probably got there is a rich brownfield site now that has created its own habitat, which could be really amazing. And so, yeah, the first thing to do is to get some surveys done on that, because underneath all that overgrownness, there could be many trees coming through. So your natural regen in 5 years, if you left it, could be great. I mean, I don't know, I've not looked at it, but it wouldn't take too much to get there and to look at that. And maybe there is a way that we could kind of, maybe it's more about selling like a 3 meter squared block to our sponsors, and then we can get the money. And then with that money, say of like an acre, we could get like £500 in or more, maybe £1,000, and then spend that on an ecologist to do the ecology work, and then find, yeah, that area is not very good, so we could do 500 trees on that land. But I don't know yet. I've not really thought about that. It's a really good idea.
I mean, I don't know if you heard of this Stroud Five Valleys project, because they were managing it for a certain amount of time and tried to pass it over to the council, possibly 5 or 6, even more years ago. But anyway, yeah, no, I'm just always thinking of different ways of trying to get the local people involved in, you know, if they knew they had a tree there, they might take more care and whatever. But no, okay then, no, that's good to have a discussion about it.
I'd say, yeah, drop me an email with those facts and figures, because I do on quite a lot of Zooms, and then loads of things are mentioned, and it's hard for me to follow it up without an email. But yeah, and CC us into the right person if you want to, and say, just connecting you, maybe you guys should have a Zoom. This is the idea, because that's where 9Trees all comes from. You know, it's everyone member. Like, we've got 23 volunteers as well, who come and join weekly meetings sometimes. Sometimes they just do 4 hours a week as an ambassador. They go to events for us. There's so many different volunteer opportunities. And one of them can be just like giving us some ideas, but also not just giving us idea, but helping us run with it. So it might be that you find someone in the Gloucestershire area who's a student out of university at the moment, who wants to do something ecologically, and you know, we could take them on as an intern or unpaid volunteering to work on this project.
Brilliant.
So
yeah,
any ideas like that? Yeah.
Just as an addition, I just can't help myself, but I get loads of trees self-seeding that I find in my gravel path. I might buy a conker tree, and I just growing them on. So I keep thinking at some point they're too big for pots and they ought to go somewhere a bit more permanent. But anyway, that's...
I'm glad you said that, because we do need it to be done by a verified tree seed collector, which is a lot easier to do. And we've got a blog about that on our website, because they're probably ash and sycamore, which we're not allowed to plant ash because we've got ash dieback, and sycamore is not considered a native species. And it's so much blows in, we wouldn't plant it because it'll just get there anyway. But yeah, if you've got...
They've got feed maple. We've got, I don't know, there's a guy called John Parker who's part of the Tree Arboretum, which is based in Stonehouse. I don't know if you know those guys, but...
Basically, unless you've got a verified thing, we can't take your trees. But there are other like groups on Facebook and guerrilla gardening things that might be able to help you, but we can't do that at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
I've noticed there's a couple of people who have just joined the chat. Well, maybe at the beginning. Is that Sarah? Did you say who you were and what you did earlier? Do you want to briefly pipe in to say where you're from and what your interest is?
Do you mean me?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm with Millbrook Parish Council, and we're based in Cornwall in Millbrook. So yeah, I'm just listening in because these sessions are very helpful. Yeah, so I haven't got any specific interest. It's good to find out about 9Trees.
Yeah, that's fine. And is there anyone else who's joined? I think that's everyone.
I think that's everyone else has already introduced themselves. That's sound. Thank you, Sarah. That's great.
I think we've got one more hand up, but it is nearing 1 o'clock. So I don't know if we want to make this the last question, if that's okay.
Yeah, if you've got to move on, then that's absolutely fine, Michael. I'm quite happy to stay a bit longer.
And you can email me any questions as well. That's fine.
That's great.
Okay, Stuart, go for it.
Let's do it.
Okay, thanks. Great talk, and I really admire the work you're doing. I live in Essex, and a part of Essex's net zero pledge was to plant, I've forgotten how many thousands of trees. They planted the verges all along the new A120 with trees, and I suspect about 95% of them are dead. We had really quite a dry summer. Nobody watered them, nobody took care of them. And I gather we are not alone with this problem. I think a stretch of the new A14, they had a lot of planting done, and likewise, they're all dead. Would you consider sort of taking a contract from Essex Highways to do the trees and look after them? Yeah, the money is there, the land is there, the road is fenced off.
There is actually a Million Trees contract out there for highways, and we are on their feed. Again, that's like, it's their job, they should pay for it. So yeah, maybe as a private contractor, we can do that under 9Trees contracting. So that it would be unfair of us to take money and to replant. The council has pledged to do it. It's like not part of their planning permission, but it's part of their pledge to net zero to do it. They should find the money for it, and they should look after the trees. And now they realise that it's 90% of the trees die. Maybe they'll put in that management of 5 years. Well, at least 5 years, you know. So we replant for the first 5 years, and that's great. So it would be a discussion between us and that landowner, and possibly highways, to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, we've got some good conversations going with the Essex County Council, as Stuart knows, so who knows what the future may bring. And there's a lot of counties out there, of course. So it's great to have your connection here, Michael. I think we've had a really good go at questions from you.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you so much, everyone. Yeah.
Lots of ideas. This presentation will be put on YouTube in due course. And Michael, if you could share your presentation as well, please, that would be great. Then we can post that up as well. If anybody else got anything else to ask, I'm happy to stay a bit longer. But you need to go on somewhere else, do you, Michael?
I'm happy just to let you guys chat amongst yourselves and discuss however you usually end the meetings. But yeah, I'm going very soon. Okay. So thank you very much. I'll take this opportunity to say thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's been great. Thank you so much for your questions.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Been fantastic, and we'll keep in touch with you, my friend. Great. Okay. There's a reaction button for clapping hands. Well, I couldn't find it quickly enough. Yeah. Obviously, the things in the chat will also be saved. I don't know if there's anybody else wanted to talk about anything else or raise any other points, but otherwise we will call it a day. And obviously, the next occasion we'll have every Wednesday at 12 noon, 12 midday, whichever way we prefer to call it. There is one of these sessions. And we will be very pleased to see you all there again at another time. If anybody wants to chat with us directly, obviously I sent out an email today from the Great Collaboration email address. Any other topics people have and want to ask about, please do. Yeah, great. If there's any more for any more. Okie dokie. Right, well, we'll call it a day. Thanks so much for joining in, and let us go forward together, which I say every time. Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers. Cheers, Stuart.